Well, meanwhile, the Bank of England Governor Mark Carney's come under fire from Brexiters for his remarks to the Treasury Select Committee. He stopped short of advising the UK to stay in, but he said an exit could hurt Britain's economy and prompt some banks to abandon London as a global financial powerhouse. Lord Lawson called the intervention entirely political, quite wrong. So did Mr Carney overstep the mark, or is it unrealistic to ask our business and financial leaders not to get involved in such a crucial debate?
The issue is the biggest domestic risk to financial stability, because in part of the issues around uncertainty, but also if I may just finish quickly, because it has the potential, depending on how it's prosecuted and how these issues can be addressed, to amplify risks around the current account has been discussed, potential risks around housing, potential risks around market functioning, which we're trying to mitigate, and also associated risks with respect to the euro area, which would have a feedback.
The reason I'm asking these phrases is that they have some significance in themselves. You're saying that it is more than a little bit of extra volatility. A departure, it would represent more than that, or are you saying that is all it is?
I'm saying that it is a risk, is the biggest domestic risk to financial stability. European Union regulation achieves the highest international standard. There are some exceptions, but in the main that is the case. If we were to be outside, the question is, how much influence would we have? One would expect some activity to move. Certainly, there's a logic to that, and there are views that have been expressed publicly and privately by a number of institutions that they would look at it, and I would say that a number of institutions are contingency planning for that possibility. Major institutions, foreign headquartered institutions who have their European headquarters here, so there would be an impact.
Well, that was Mark Carney speaking earlier. Richard Tice is the co-founder of the Leave.EU group, and he joins me now also from the perspective of a property developer. Is that right, Richard?
Yes, that's right.
And an investor. Do you really think we should be gagging those who might help the public understand these incredibly complex issues?
No, definitely not. I mean, we should be encouraging debate. It's actually the Prime Minister and Number 10 who've been trying to gag people. Initially the ministers, cabinet members, and just recently John Longworth.
You don't have a problem then with Mark Carney today?
No, I don't actually have a problem with Mark Carney, and let's be clear, what he said was he's not making any recommendation either way. He also said that no comprehensive assessment has been made. He referred to risks. There's risks every day of our lives, in business, in our domestic lives.
So you're happy with him coming out and saying there will be risks involved?
As I've just said, there are permanently risks in business, running governments. You know, life is full of risks. It's how you deal with them. But he also said today that the much bigger risk are the global risks, China and other things that he inferred about, for example, possibly the American economy. So, you know, actually, to refer to it as a domestic risk, we could argue, actually is good news for the Leave campaign.
So does it make you embarrassed then when Brexiteers, people on your side, or Jacob Rees-Mogg and the Treasury Select Committee, or Lord Lawson say he's been wrong to come out, he's been a political animal to get involved? You seem much more relaxed.
I'm quite relaxed about it. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the Governor of the Bank of England has a role to play, but he has said quite clearly he's not making a recommendation. Equally, you know, the Bank of England, it's part of the establishment. It's not going to go against the government. You know, ultimately, the people, they have a view about what the establishment is doing and saying and what they've seen over the last 3 weeks. No, we're quite relaxed about it. You know, he's referred to a domestic issue. The much bigger risks in life are global risks. I think the real proof is in the pudding. Let's take HSBC. They've just recently decided to keep their global headquarters in London after a 2 or 3 year review. They could easily have deferred it until post the Brexit vote, in the full knowledge that actually this was going to be a close vote. They didn't. They made the commitment to stay in London because it is the best global financial centre. That's a huge statement of intent. And that's the real proof of the pudding.
What do you do with all that weight, though, on the other side, whether it's the Director General of the CBI or the CEO of BA or Asda or M&S and Vodafone, Heathrow and Gatwick Airport? So if people are sort of sitting at home and saying, I recognise that brand, you know, I trust that brand, I believe in that CEO, and they are all overwhelmingly on the side of remaining, what does that tell you?
Actually, I mean, you've had companies like Nissan, Toyota, JCB, huge businesses like that, even Airbus, saying it wouldn't affect their investment plans and their plans for UK jobs. Take someone like Heathrow. You know, Heathrow want a third runway. That's a decision by the government. So when Number 10 phones you up and says, please sign this letter, are you going to deny that? Of course you're not. You know, so you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Are you saying that they're all politically puppeted by the government then? They're all being pushed into this side?
That's a very good example. And, you know, Number 10 admitted to organising that letter of FTSE leaders. Lots of them declined to sign it. You then had the military letter where actually Number 10 got it wrong. They included people who hadn't.
So who else would you put there? Would you say BA is being pressurised, Asda's being pressurised, M&S being pressurised, Vodafone's being pressurised? I wonder how far you think the tentacles of government reach.
It's interesting, isn't it? The leaders of those businesses are generally corporate managers who have risen the pole of corporate life. The big entrepreneurs, the Peter Hargreaves of this world, or in the city, for example, people like Oliver Hemsley, people like Peter Cruddas, people like Terry Smith. You know, the entrepreneurs in the city are almost exclusively, but certainly by and large, are for out. And I think that tells you a lot about the real risk takers and where they see the opportunities. I
don't know if you'd call her an entrepreneur or a risk taker or what, but we've got the front page of The Sun here, and it's got its own exclusive, that the Queen backs Brexit. EU going in the wrong direction, she says. This is a quote from The Sun. Hailed as a backer of Brexit after details emerged of an alleged bust-up between her and Nick Clegg over Europe. Would you call that an overwhelmingly political intervention? Or?
I think that seals it. The Queen's always right. I'm a royalist. End of. Let's have the vote tomorrow.
And do you think that will now, if you like, shut up everyone on the no campaign, or rather on the Brexit campaign, saying we can't let people, big figures, the Mark Carneys of this world, get involved? I mean, obviously, you know, I have to say this is from The Sun so far. We haven't had confirmation from the palace. But does that stop anyone moaning about big figures getting involved?
Anybody can get involved. We all have a vote.
Publicly?
No, publicly. Look, the more...
You're proud to see her come up.
I'm proud to see anybody stand up and be counted. But when people like John Longworth stand up and be counted, make it clear it's a personal view, and then to be suspended and then forced to resign.
Do you think the Queen can have a personal view?
Well, she's as entitled to a view as anybody. Yeah, but I think, you know, the real point is all of us should stand up and be counted rather than be sort of shamed into silence.
Richard Tice, thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much indeed.